Hello, everybody. Today's story is called. What's that smell? That's not the title of the book. My feet stink. Does your feet ever stink? They get all stinky because you don't want to take a bath? Mine stink. Well, how about that, too? Because you know what? Today's story is called The King with Dirty Feet. Oh, what a coincidence. And it's written by Sally. Oh, hold on a minute. I got to bring my glasses down. Sally Pomme Clayton. And the illustrations is by Rhiannon Sanderson. I hope I pronounced those names right. I have such trouble sometimes. But here's what it says on the back. The king hasn't had a bath for a whole year. He is starting to smell. When he finally bathes in the river, he can't get his feet clean. Who can solve the problem of the king's dirty feet? Oh, this should be a funny story. Okay, I'll read it, but I'll be back. I gotta go wash my feet. They're really stinky. Okay, here we go. The king with dirty feet. Once upon a time, there was a king. He lived in a beautiful palace in India. His kingdom was filled with trees, flowers, animals, and a lovely river. The king had everything he wanted and was very happy. But there was one thing that this king hated, and that was bath time. Oh, he doesn't like taking a bath. I like taking baths, playing with rubber duckies. The king had not washed for a week. He had not washed for a month. He had not washed for a whole year. Whoa. And he had begun to smell, I bet. He smelt underneath his arms, in between his toes, behind his ears, and up his nose. He was the smelliest king there has ever been. His servant Gabu was very polite about the smell, but nobody liked to be near the king. Then, one day, the smell became too much for the king himself, and the king said, rather sadly, "I think it is time I had a bath." The king walked slowly down to the river, but news traveled fast. The king's going to have a bath. Everyone rushed down to the riverbank to get the best view. They all fell silent as the king stepped into the cool, clear river water. When the king called for the royal soap, a huge cheer arose. The king washed and scrubbed and brushed his teeth. He played with his toy ducks. I like doing that. And little boats. Then, at last, when he was quite clean, he called for the royal towel and stepped out of the river. When the king had finished drying himself, he looked down at his feet, and they were covered with dust. "I forgot to wash them," he said. The king stepped back into the water. He rubbed his feet with bubbles of soap. Then he stepped out of the river, but his feet were still dirty. "I didn't wash them enough," he said crossly. "Bring me the royal scrubbing brush." The king scrubbed his feet until they shone, but as soon as he stepped on dry land, his feet were dirty again. Yeah, that happens. The king was furious. He called for his servant. Gaboo came running and bowed low. "Gaboo," boomed the king has had a bath. The king is clean, but the land is dirty. There is dust everywhere. Get rid of all this dirt so my feet stay clean." "Yes, your majesty," replied Gaboo. "You have 3 days to rid the land of dirt, and if you fail, do you know what will happen to you?" asked the king. "No, your majesty." "Zoot!" cried the king. "Zut!" said Gaboo. "What is zoot?" "Zoot is the sound of your head being chopped off." Oh dear, that's not good. That's kind of scary. I'm sure it'll turn out all right. Gaboo began to cry. "Don't waste time, Gaboo," said the king. "Rid the land of dirt at once." Oh, my goodness. "I must put my thinking cap on," said Gaboo. He put his head in his hands and thought. When something is dirty, you brush it. Gaboo asked everyone to help him. People took brushes and brooms, and 1, 2, 3, they all began to sweep. Swish, 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 all day long. Dust filled the air in a thick, dark cloud. Everyone started coughing and spluttering and bumping into each other. The king choked. "Gaboo, where are you? I asked you to rid the land of dust, not fill the air with dust. You have 2 more days, or zoot!" Oh boy, what do you think gonna happen? I don't know. Phew. "Oh dear," cried Gaboo, and he put his head in his hands and thought. When something is dirty, you wash it. Gaboo asked everyone to help him. They took buckets and pails, filled them with water, and 1, 2, 3, they all began to pour, sloosh, sloosh, slush, slush, all day long. Water spread across the land and began to rise. Water reached everyone's ankles, rose up to their knees, up to their waists, and reached their chins. "Swim, everybody!" cried Gaboo. The king climbed to the top of the highest mountain. Water lapped his toes, and he sniffed. "Gaboo! Achoo! Oh, where are you?" Gaboo came swimming. "Yes, your majesty." "Gaboo, I ask you to rid the land of dirt, not turn the kingdom into a swimming pool. You have 1 more day, or zoot!" 1 more day. Oh dear. I've run out of ideas," cried Gaboo. He put his head in his hands and thought and thought. When something is dirty, you cover it up. Gaboo asked everyone to help him. They took needles and threads and pieces of cloth, and 1, 2, 3, they all began to sew. Stitch, 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 all day long. The cloth got bigger and bigger. They stitched all the pieces of cloth together into one huge cloth that spread across the land. It fitted perfectly. It stretched from the school to the well, from the temple to the palace, and all the way down to the river. "We've done it!" cried the Gaboo. We're ready, your majesty. The king peeped out of the palace. The ground looked clean, very clean indeed. The king put one foot on the cloth, and there was not a speck of dust. Comfortable and clean, said the king. The dirt has gone. Well done, Gaboo. No zoot. That's good. Then a little old man with a long white beard stepped out of the crowd. He bowed low before the king. Your Majesty, how will anything grow now that the land is covered with cloth? There will be no grass or flowers. The animals will be hungry. There will be no fruit or vegetables to eat. We need dirt so that we can live, said the old man. Your Majesty, you don't have to cover the land with cloth to keep your feet clean. Oh, sounds like he's got an idea. The old man took a pair of scissors out of his pocket. He bent down and began to cut the cloth around the king's feet. Snip, 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 snip. He cut out 2 small pieces of cloth. Then the old man took 2 long laces and tied the pieces of cloth to the king's feet. Try them, your Majesty. The king looked down at his feet. He had never seen anything like it. He put 1 foot forward. Very good, he exclaimed. He took a step. Splendid! The king walked. Comfortable, clean, and the grass can grow. The king ran and jumped. Hooray! He cried. I can walk here and here and here. I can walk anywhere, and my feet will always be clean. What was the king wearing on his feet? He was wearing shoes. They were the first pair of shoes ever made, and people have been wearing shoes ever since. Well, I guess we can thank this dude, well, actually that dude, and Gaboo too. They all helped make the first pair of shoes. That's pretty cool. I have a couple pairs of shoes, but I don't wear a lot. How many pairs of shoes do you have? Some people have lots and lots and lots of shoes. Not me. I only have like 3. That's okay. Well, thank you for coming to Storytime with Dog and joining me in learning the king with 30 feet and how he got the pair of shoes. That was pretty cool. I was a little worried for a Gaboo there. I didn't want him to get the zoot. Kind of scary. All right. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.